Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday with me, Ryan, aka Sifu Messiah. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the world of Star Citizen over the past week. Links can be found in the description for everything we discuss, so let's get on with it. This week, Chris stops by answering some excellent questions. Sandi and Erin present Around the Verse from the UK, plus we get some work in progress pictures of the Million Mile High Club. I would like to give a huge thank you to all of our patrons. Your support really allows us to create these videos. I have recently updated our Patreon rewards and goals to better reflect our direction. Things like Star Citizen package giveaways and private gaming sessions with me would be a good way to thank you all for helping the channel. Follow the Patreon link in the description if you would like to help. If you are still to sign up to the RSI website, please use my referral code as shown on screen or in the description, and you'll receive 5,000 United Earth credits which can be spent in the Voyager Direct store for your ships, your character, or whatever you choose. You don't have to spend anything to sign up. It's only once you pledge that I'll be granted an RP point, which will get me some little rewards in the future. So Chris was back this week with 10 more questions. First question being, will capital ships like the Javelin persist when all crew members are logged off? Will it need protection from an NPC crew to prevent damage or theft? Now he says that they determine there will be a safe area in orbit where nothing can happen to it, like sort of a sky dock. But he did say there may be some way that if you're on your ship and you go to bed to go to sleep and then log off in, say, an asteroid field, and if there's no one else around, no other players in that instance, then the ship will no longer persist and it'll be removed. But again, this is probably going to be quite risky because if you go to sleep, log off, and then someone comes into that instance just before it is disappeared, it will re-persist again and then your ship will persist. He did say this may work with bigger ships too, but they'll sort it out. But I think when you take out a huge capital ship, then yeah, I think you need to be able to find a safe place which is out of the way from everyone and hide it somehow. Anyway, next question. Will we be able to buy REC or UEC items to configure our ships with in 2.0? And he says, absolutely, it is quite a high priority at the moment to get this available to us. He says they want you to have the ability to go to shops and buy weapons and clothing, etc. This will be coming with the Persistence, which we're not sure when that's coming, but it should be debuting soon. He did say they want to move away from buying from the website as well, and instead of having to log onto the website to go to Voyager Direct, then you will have to go to the shops in-game instead, which would be brilliant. So, moving on. Will we have the opportunity to buy and sell second-hand ships either through traders in the verse or real players? And I love the idea of this. He says that long-term, it's going to be quite likely, but short-term, you can only sell your used ships for a portion of the price, but only new ships will be available to buy. He did say, though, you may be able to trade in your old ship to get money off the new one. They did have the same discussion in regards to clothing. They say it's a cool idea, but it's not a high priority. So, trading with players will be available in the Persistent universe, but there will be rules and limits to stop people abusing this, and there may be some form of title transfer tax like you have with cards in the US. But I really hope to God that there's a little junkyard planetside somewhere where you can find battered old 2944 Aurora for when, 10 years in the future and be like, wow, what a collectible, let's buy that and do it up. So, next question, will there be an option for stealth FPS gameplay? He says, absolutely, it's going to be far more tactical rather than run and gun. There's going to be some cool stealth distraction gadgets as well, like the holo projector gadget, which will project a holo image of yourself. Also, we know of ways that you'll be able to hide yourself from radars and so forth. But he did say that there will be vents in space stations and ships to crawl into and hide and get around obstacles rather than going straight through the main corridor. So that is going to be a cool little way of trying to get to a different area of a space station if you know pirates are holding it. Moving on. Will players be able to play as a privateer, corsair or buccaneer on the grey but still legal side of the law and carry letters of marque? And he said it's a good question, but he did say he's not sure about the letters. He did say there will be definitely cases where if you are a freelancer, you can be hired by organisations or firms within the Persistent universe, do missions for greater powers. There will be gameplay to be a privateer, a buccaneer and a corsair. And for example, he says there may be stuff going on between the UEE and the Jeanne, and if you do something to the Jeanne, the UEE may turn a blind eye to it. But he didn't really go into any specifics. So, next question. How will we be able to land on an unexplored or uninhabited planet when populated planets bring you in on autopilot? So, it sounds like a bit of confusion there. Chris explains this perfectly. He says the plan is now not to have autopilot landing on planets. When landing in a populated area, like Terra for example, you will be able to take control of your ship and you'll have to follow sort of like an invisible tunnel route to get down to the landing pad, which will probably be shown on your radar. If though you do deviate from this little invisible tunnel, you will be brought back in automatically, which is to stop people doing the 9/11 incidents and flying into all sorts of stuff and grieving people. On unpopulated planets or areas and so forth, for example, he gave a forested planet, which will be obviously procedurally generated with small areas of interest. You can pretty much land wherever you like. He did say there won't be 400 billion planets to land on like you see in Elite Dangerous, but there will be far more fidelity within these planets, and he says there's going to be more of a Crisis style level of fidelity with wildlife and vegetation. You'll be able to mine minerals, you'll be able to hunt alien animals for their skins, maybe even taking supplies to an expedition outpost. He says there's going to be lots of immersion gameplay, and one of my most anticipated is something like, if any of you have seen the John Carpenter's The Thing, where they head to this sort of snowy base, I think it's on the Antarctic or somewhere around there, maybe the Arctic, and everyone has disappeared and there's creatures crawling around everywhere. I just love the idea of doing that. Thinking you're just going to deliver some goods, getting down there, everyone's gone, you've got to research and find out what went wrong. Oh, exciting times. Great question, great answer. So, next question. Is there future plans to reward subscribers in any more ways? And Chris says that they're actively figuring out all the time ways to reward subscribers more. He did say they may play around with REC and loaner ships, and you may pass into the game in another way with the ICC Stellar Surveyors, which I don't know what he means by that. He did say that Ben will have updates for us. A patch is being worked on, so I assume they mean a physical patch rather than like a PTU patch. But we will have to wait and see. Next question. Will there be an updated game manual? Now he says yes, they're working on the manual for 2.0 now. Currently he says it's not a great experience for new players. There's no overall view of how the controls are, but with 2.0's release, they say they want to improve the user experience to help you fly your ships. The basic Aurora, for example, won't allow you to change much and fiddle with things like the IFCS as much as you would with a more expensive ship or maybe a dedicated fighter like a Hornet would. And they want there to be a gradation of complexity, so you should be able to just jump straight in and enjoy the game. But if you wanted to take it further, you could delve into your ship or your flight far more and get more out of it. He says they are making a big push to improve the user experience, and you may have something like a Bitching Betty which will help walk you through your ship systems. So, you know, it may pop up and say, would you like us to walk you through starting up your ship? And then you'll just allow it to guide you step by step how to do it, so the new players who have not actually flown a ship at all will be able to take to it much better. Right, second to last question. Will the procedural generation planets be the same for everyone, or will it be unique each time it is visited? And he says once generated it will persist the same for everyone. So once you enter the new planet, it will generate, it'll be there, and it'll be the same for everyone who enters it. Last question. Will the Starfarer's refueling mechanic come online with the launch of the Starfarer? And he says that they want it to be ready when the ship is ready, so yes. And again, when it comes online, they want you to be able to earn UEC, so you'll need to pay for things like weapons, clothing, repairing your ship, and refueling all together at the same time. And they also want players who own a Starfarer to fly around, collect the fuel and have it processed, and then sell it to other players. And he did say that the Starfarer will be hangar ready this month. It's a little way off from flyable, but my god, that thing is going to be a beast, and I cannot wait to walk around it. Oh, exciting times. Anyway, tell me your thoughts. Some great questions. I really enjoyed watching it this week. What did you like? What don't you like? So, Around the Verse episode 2.13 came from the UK today in Foundry 42 Manchester. It was presented by Sandy Gardner and Erin Roberts, Chris Roberts' brother. They said Bug Smashers is preparing a 2.1 for live release, and they may have added some stuff in next week, which we are still yet to see. It says 2016 is going to be a big year with Squadron 42 coming out, also updating the PU like mad. Also, right now they say that they have 8 to 9 people finalising this year's schedule, so they're working on what they need to get sorted for this year. Straight on to news from Around the Verse, starting with the LA CIG office. They say 2.1 stability is the primary concern. Engineers are all hands on deck. The Reliant is really close. They say the damage and the landing gear is being worked on now. Also, their flight engineer, the guy who created the IFCS, is fine-tuning the EVA system based on our feedback, because when they launched it with the new updates, it just wasn't feeling proper. So they've gone back, they're reassessing it, and they're going to release it once it's ready. On to Austin, Texas CIG. They are looking ahead to do a pass on Hurston's landing zone layout. This is a revamp by Tony Zurovec, who is quite an important person. They're re-evaluating all the hero locations which have required a lot of attention. I assume this is where, the big primary locations which we will see, and they'll be quite important within Squadron 42 and the PU. They're working on landing sequence style guides for ships, so the MISC will land in a certain way, maybe different to the Aegis. They're also working on variable turret seat heights, which is pretty cool. Nice to see that there's a little fine touch there, so you can sit higher up or depending on what you prefer. Also, they're getting the 3 speeds for enter and exit of your ships. Now this is, obviously at the moment, we just have your basic get in and out. It's quite slow, quite steady. You may want to get in a little quicker if you're being shot at, so they've got a sort of a combat speed. They've also got an emergency speed and the usual relaxed speed. Very important for immersion. I think it will look brilliant if you see someone running to their ship trying to get in and they're jumping in from off the ladder and so forth. Also, Chris Roberts put out an engineering task list for all studios, so they'll all have received this, knowing what they need to work on, prioritizing things. Very important to get things organised. So, Foundry 42 in the UK, they say it's a busy start to the year. They're trying to get the 2.1 live, as we heard. They're also planning ahead for the next few releases. Chris Roberts is there to sync up with the team, getting Squadron 42 Episode 1 ready. Again, we should see that at the end of this year. They're starting to get all the tasks laid out and then assigned to the right people. Foundry 42 in Frankfurt, so the engine team are really pushing this procedural technology, getting some really cool new stuff done. We will see this in the future, I'm sure. The focus is on roadmaps and schedules, as we know. Cinematics are pushing on stuff as well. New heads, new faces. All exciting times. Anyway, after that, Jared sat down with a guy called Jeffrey Pease, who is the QA specialist. Again, follow the link in the description if you want to see more. After that, we had a behind-the-scenes look at the Shuben mining platform. Now, this is a 6-kilometer mining area, which I expect is coming along with Squadron 42. In my opinion, it's probably going to be a mission where you will have to go and land and speak to the security officer there, who is Rhys Davis. Maybe they're getting attacked by Vandal, or there's some pirates out there, we don't know. We shall have to find out. Now, in this area, they have 3 types of areas. They have technical, habitation, and engineering. Engineering is sort of yellow, industrial in style, sort of underground with sort of darker lights, whereas habitation is more high-tech, white lights, quite bright, quite clean. We saw some pictures as well. We saw the engineering style guides with the minerals or the materials and the signage icons. We saw an engineering corridor, the first concept pass, and then there's textures, small components, different lightings and decals just to build it up from the ground. After that, we saw something which they called the transit hub, which looks like some sort of room on a rail. I don't know what this is. It looks like a way of getting from one point of the station to the next, because obviously you will not be able to walk 6 kilometers, and you will, but it'll be a pain in the ass to have to do it. So I assume it'll be a long shoot, like what you saw in Dead Space when you would go from point to point. I think it was Dead Space 2. It says it has some shock absorbers in case Shuben gets hit by an asteroid. I really want to know more about this, because so far, I don't know anything. After that, we saw an image of the foyer, which showed the transit hood to the left with its big hydraulic arms. Another image was the security terminals and scanners, etc., where you will transition through areas. You stand in the middle and it'll rotate around you and just check you out first. After that, we saw a bit of the habitation area, less industrial, more sort of data computer areas, more advanced than the industrial as well, with some advertising panels, as this is where the workers will be living. Also an emergency panel too. Now, they showed us some variations of the panels, but there will be more than this to stop repetition, and these are each panel that goes into the corridors to build them out. Very exciting. It's going to be quite impressive when you have to fly over there and transition down seamlessly with no loading screens into this 6-kilometer huge mining platform. Incredible stuff. Anyway, as usual, the most valuable post, it is Noobifier1337 for his weapon and hardpoint explanation. Very useful. Again, the link is in the description. I highly suggest reading this even if you understand the hardpoints and so forth, but it's always good to be in the know. Finally, the sneak peek is the Reliant now entering texture phase. Very, very close. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the Reliant at the end of this month. Anyway, that was Around the Verse. Great episode. Tell me your thoughts. Put it in the comments. Also this week, we had a new Empire report post titled Suj Kossi Suspends Campaign, which is a little teaser into the politics of the verse. And finally, we got some great work in progress images of the Million Mile High Club and how it's coming along. Very excited. I just hope one day I get to actually visit it. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for watching, and thank you to our subscribers, plus a massive thank you to our patrons as you make this possible. If you like what we do and want to help us make it better, follow the link in the description to our Patreon page to learn more.